let's move to the AFC West, where, I mean,
I think number one is easy.
Number one's easy, and then I'm going to give you my 2 and 3 because I think it's going to be most controversial. Okay.
I don't think so. I think I'm with you, Brady, because I already know where you're going with this.
Okay. Ooh. Obviously, Antonio Pierce, interim head coach, not much experience, so we put him at 4.
Yes.
So that takes care of that. So then it's between Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh. I'm giving the edge to Jim Harbaugh, even though it was a short stint. Yeah. He still went to, 3 NFC championship games, all right?
Correct.
Did go to a Super Bowl. He's won a national championship. I think he, to me, I'd put slightly ahead of Sean Payton, even though Sean Payton has a Super Bowl. Yeah. Even though Sean Payton's won numerous NFC South division titles and all that. And I think part of it's the fact that he had Drew Brees for the entirety of his time there with the Saints. And I'm not saying that Sean Payton wasn't part of that, obviously. He was. But Drew Brees obviously is like a first ballot Hall of Famer quarterback. So it lends itself to like that Brady Belichick argument, Sean Payton, Drew Brees. And after watching last year in Denver, you're kind of like, all right. So maybe it's too small of a sample size to give that a step ahead to Jim Harbaugh. But I just think he's a good football coach. I don't care where you put him. He's going to eventually build something and find a way to win a championship. If not for the lights going out in that Super Bowl, I don't know. Maybe San Francisco does end up winning it all.
Yeah, I'm with you too, Brady. I think a lot of people would say this is a little controversial just because Sean Payton does have the ring. But to your point, like when Drew Brees came to New Orleans, people tend to forget he was actually a pretty good quarterback. He was just coming off an injury. It wasn't like he was somebody he developed into some great player. Like he was actually a pretty good quarterback already. Now, again, he did help in that development. But we look at Jim Harbaugh and what he did with Alex Smith and then Colin Kaepernick. And then to your point, he's won every place he's been. Whether it's University of San Diego, whether it's Stanford, whether it's Michigan, right? And then he's done it with Greg Roman before. So you talk about the continuity. Now, again, I know Joe Lombardi was with Sean Payton forever, literally, in New Orleans. But I'm with you. I just because Jim Harbaugh has won every place he's been, I give him the slight edge. And then you look at it, right, with the tools that he has now with having a guy like Justin Herbert. I don't think he's ever had a quarterback like that. So you can only imagine what he could potentially do with Herbert.
The last thing, if you incorporate the staffs, all right, Greg Roman's a little more tenured than Lou Getsy is and probably has had more success, although Patrick Graham's had way more experience than Jesse Minter has. But, excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong one. Joe Lombardi and Vance Joseph has more experience than Jesse Minter. Yeah. The hard thing for me is like that Broncos defense, even though it got much better the second half of the season, it did give up 70 points.
70 points.
70 points. 70 points. Like, for that reason alone, I got to give a little slight edge to the Jim Harbaugh staff.
Here's the other thing. Jim Harbaugh's track record of hiring assistants is pretty freaking immaculate. Now, Greg Roman was welcome eventually with the offense they ran with Colin Kaepernick and then what they did with Lamar Jackson. They're not going to run that same thing with Justin Herbert. Mike McDonald, superstar new coach of the Seattle Seahawks, found by the Harbaugh brothers. He was in Baltimore, went to Michigan, and then back to Baltimore, and then gets a job in Seattle. You look at Vic Fangio, who's talked about as one of the best defensive coordinators in football. Harbaugh guy. It wouldn't have been surprising if he'd gone to Los Angeles instead of Philadelphia. And I just think you have to. Jim Harbaugh went 22-2 in his final 2 years at San Diego with Josh Johnson. He goes and wins an Orange Bowl at Stanford. That is so hard to do. Stanford is nerd city, and he turned it into a football team, like a stud football place, right? He jumps to the NFC West with the 49ers. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2002, and he takes them to three straight NFC Championship games. And you're right, and he could go to 3 straight Super Bowls really easily, like one play away at each of those. And then, of course, had the one play, like he had the Sherman Crabtree thing where he screamed at Aaron Andrews and the NFC Championship game one year.
Ball back gets intercepted. Yeah,
you catch the 2011 Giants. I mean, it's just like and then he goes to Michigan. It is so effing hard to go 5-7 at a school like Michigan. Brady Hoke did it the year before Harbaugh got there. Harbaugh wins double digits immediately, has him in the playoffs, flips the script on Ohio State, wins a national championship, and goes back to the NFL. Like, the guy just wins everywhere he goes, and he's going to win here. And here's the topper. I think if you ask Sean Payton right now, if he'd like to switch jobs with Jim Harbaugh, he probably would because the Chargers have the quarterback. Right. So, yeah, I agree. I think Harbaugh over Payton, but I love Sean Payton. I think he's a great coach.
Yeah.
I think Pierce is.
It's like a 2A, 2B type conversation, right?
For sure. Yeah. We're not going to disrespect Andy Reid by trying to force one of these guys.
I don't even think we need to talk about that.
No.